You're lying in bed, the soft hum of a fan brushing against your ears, your blankets warm and safe. Outside, the night feels still, too still. Then comes the distant rustle of leaves, and you lean in, curious, as a whisper drifts through the open window. Come back. It's not over. The wind carries that voice all the way to Moss Hollow, North Carolina, where an old cabin stands half swallowed by the marsh. Folks in the nearby town of Pine Bay tell you everything about Moss Hollow. How hunters went in and never returned, how hikers found tents torn apart with no sign of the owners, how at night a single swing from a gnarled tree creaks in a field no one dares enter. That field is called Dead Man's Field. That swing still hangs, its ropes frayed and swinging on their own, as if something invisible rocks it back and forth. Eric Caldwell doesn't believe in ghost stories. He's 27, a truck driver from Savannah, Georgia, with long miles behind him and too many late-night radio calls. When his cousin Amy vanishes near Moss Hollow, though, he realizes how little roads, CB lingo and tough talk matter against something he cannot see. Amy was the kind of woman who camped in every state, always chasing the next sunrise. When her tent showed up torn to shreds outside that cabin, no blood, no body, just claw marks gouged into the wood and her name carved in the dirt. Eric's world split in two, before Amy and after. He tried sleep, but sleep only brought nightmares. He saw her pale face by the tree swing, mouth opening and closing without sound, and heard breathing that wasn't hers, deep, rasping, hungry. So at the first grey light, Eric packed his flashlight, his cousin's old voice recorder, and drove north in his beat-up pickup. He stopped outside Pine Bay, where the locals eyed him through shuttered windows. A drunken man at the diner warned, "Don't go near Moss Hollow after dark, son. You'll never make it back." But Eric kept going. He called his best friend Marcus to join him. Marcus, the ex-linebacker from New Orleans with a booming laugh that always cut through tension, and Marcus's sister Jess, a rally nurse who loved science more than superstition. Jess wouldn't have come if Eric hadn't convinced her. "I need someone with a steady nerve, Jess. You're the only one who'll keep me from losing mine." She showed up at his door with a first aid kit, sage bundles and a small pistol tucked inside her jacket. "Just in case," she said, half teasing, half terrified. They reached the old logging road by sundown. The air smelled like wet wood and something dead beneath the pines. Birds were silent, no frogs croaked. A single swing creaked in the clearing ahead. Eric's flashlight caught its silhouette first, the swing set's ropes cutting through the gloom like dark veins. Behind it, the cabin's windows were empty eye sockets. Marcus tried to joke, "Looks like it's waiting for us," but his voice cracked. That night they set their tents 50 yards from the cabin. Marcus built a small fire while Jess rigged her recorder under the stump where Amy's tent had stood. Eric circled the cabin, scanning for footprints. Near the front door he knelt and shone his light into the dirt. Fresh letters, gouged deep, AMY. He felt bile rise. "This wasn't here," he whispered. Marcus and Jess leaned in. The name looked as if someone had just carved it. They tried to sleep, but the fire died. Woods around them breathed, and they heard soft footsteps in the leaves. At 3 a.m., Eric bolted upright. Jess's tent was empty. Marcus's was too. He grabbed his flashlight, its beam shook. He found footprints leading towards the cabin. They followed until the cabin door swung open with a groan. Inside, the air was icy. Eric's light revealed black mold dripping from the rafters. The floor warped like waves in slow motion. At the back of the cabin, Marcus stood facing the wall, arms limp. His voice was a hollow whisper. "She's here." Eric and Jess snapped to attention. They called his name, but he didn't turn. Then the wall behind him cracked and split like paper. Long black fingers snaked out, followed by a face, or the suggestion of one. Its skull stretched tight, eye sockets empty, skin leaking shadows. It hissed. Marcus collapsed. Jess screamed. Eric grabbed her arm and sprinted outside. The trees bent inward, branches clutching at their jackets. They ran without looking back, stumbling through brambles until they collapsed by their tents. The next morning, Marcus was gone. Their camp destroyed, packed with claw marks. The sheriff in Pine Bay brushed them off, telling them to stick to roads, but Eric knew better. He returned alone a week later with the voice recorder. He left it running by the stump under the oak. When he collected it, he heard only wind at first. Then around 2:13 a.m., Amy's soft whisper, "Eric, please help me." And after, a deep guttural voice that was not hers, "You're mine now, Harlan." He replayed it a dozen times, hands shaking. Harlan, a name he'd never heard, but now it echoed in his mind. 2 nights later, on the highway back to Savannah, Eric felt eyes in his rear view. He slowed. A man stood at the road's edge, pale, shirtless, too thin, with eyes black as tar and a grin that split his face. Eric slammed on the brakes. The figure vanished. Back home, the nightmares worsened. Amy's voice called from the window, though he lived on the 2nd floor. Jess prayed with him, brought holy water, sage, scriptures. Nothing worked. He woke one night in a muddy clearing behind his apartment, scratches on his arms, no memory of how he got there. Jess handed him a small card torn from an old book her grandmother kept. Ancient words meant to bind a spirit. Eric pinned it under his doorframe. The next night, Amy cried out in his dream, "Eric, help me!" And then low laughter, Harlan's laugh, rolled through the dark. It hit him. Harlan was no ghost. He was something older, a jinn from desert tales, drawn to love and twisting it into terror. He took Amy's life, or whatever remained of it, to claim her devotion. Now he wanted Eric's too. The only way to break it was to burn the cabin, erase every trace. Eric and Jess drove back on the darkest night of the month. The air was heavy, as if the woods held their breath. They carried gasoline and lanterns. Marcus's laugh, distant, broken, echoed in Eric's head. They stepped into Dead Man's Field. The swing swayed with no wind. Amy stood by it, pale in the lantern glow. "Eric," she said, voice soft. He ran forward, but Jess pulled him back. "Harlan's in there," Jess whispered. "Don't go alone." Eric lifted his lantern to the cabin door. Its frame sagged, nails rusted. He tossed a rag soaked in gasoline inside and stepped back. Jess lit the match. The flame grew, licking the wood, and then fire roared to life. It spread so fast it felt alive. The cabin's board snapped, windows blew out, and shadows danced in the flames. Amy's face one moment, Marcus's crushed form the next. Dozens of shapes flickered and wailed. A figure stumbled from the doorway. Harlan, skin charred, limbs twisted. He lunged at Eric with a scream that sounded like tearing metal. Jess fired the pistol into the air. The report cracked like thunder, but Harlan kept coming. The fire behind him hissed and flared. He hesitated, flesh smoking, then lunged again, and vanished in a flash of light as the cabin collapsed inward. Eric ran to the clearing's edge where Amy had stood. She was gone. In the mud he found her necklace, its silver heart cold. He picked it up, tears burning his eyes. They waited until dawn on a fallen log. The marsh fog curled low over the grass. The cabin was ash. The swing hung still, ropes blackened but intact. No signs of Amy or Marcus, no footprints, no whispers. They left Moss Hollow without a word, driving in silence. Back in Pine Bay, they told no one what happened. Tourists ask about Dead Man's Field. Locals say it's off-limits, dangerous ground. The county put up private property signs and called in environmental experts. Claimed it was toxic. Eric keeps Amy's voice recorder on his bedside table. At night, when the wind picks up, he plays it. First comes Amy's plea, soft as a lullaby. "Eric, please help me." Then Harlan's voice, deeper than earth, "You're mine." Eric sleeps with the bedroom light on. Jess stays close. Every now and then they catch a reflection, shadows at the window, shapes in the hallway. They know Harlan survived. He feeds on love, and Eric's love for Amy still burns bright. In every crack of wood, every creak of leather, Eric hears his name. He knows it's not over. He only hopes, when the swing creaks again under the old oak, that he'll be ready for whatever walks out of the darkness next.